Troy, it's all you.
All right. Well, thank you, Sarah. This is Troy Gerber from Verified Volunteers. And it's a pleasure to have you all online with us today to learn a little bit more about background screening for volunteer purposes. We're excited about the partnership we have with the Michigan Nonprofit Association. And we're excited to tell you what we're building here at Verified Volunteers and how it can impact your community. So without further ado, we'll get started. Some quick housekeeping notes. The webinar itself will be published and made available to you. At the end of the presentation, which should take approximately about 15 minutes, we'll open it up for some Q&A session. So please hold your questions to the end, and then we'll try to address those in good fashion. So moving forward, I'll tell you a little bit about who we are at Verified Volunteers and how the inception unfolded. We are the only background screening platform that is literally tailor-made for the specific needs of the service sector. We have a first online community that literally will mobilize and repeat vetted volunteers in that community. We started with a concept of a what if there was a better way to do background checks. And so we formed a partnership nationally with Points of Light to address that specific need is what if there was a better way to screen? What would that look and feel like? Let's go out to the communities and find out what those pain points are with processing background checks today and see if we can solve a problem. And Points of Light turned to an organization called Sterling Backcheck, which is literally the largest private screening firm in North America. They've been providing employee background checks since the 1970s. They are the investment capital, the technology infrastructure that powers Verified Volunteers. So with that said, we have formed some national partnerships with some large nonprofit organizations to help drive this out to the community level. So what we tried to solve in the early stages was the way background checks have always been done. We found out that they're time consuming, right? There's a lot of data entry. It just takes up a lot of resources. The background checks that were being offered to nonprofits were generally low quality or incomplete searches. They were expensive, and volunteers would have to go through the same background check every time they went and served at another nonprofit. So some of those solutions that we built here at Verified Volunteers pinpoint really back to this, the time consuming, the low quality, the expense, and then having to repeat background checks on, the same individual over and over again. So what Verified Volunteers has created is in essence a volunteer fast pass. It's a platform that volunteers can self-engage, create their own profile in simple accounts that they can manage. We standardize background checks for them to use, and we also make it available for them to share their own background checks through our platform with anyone that's on the community platform. So for the first time ever, we've given some tools that are so easy to use. It's literally a four-step process for the volunteer. From a high level, how the Fast Pass works is organizations, individual nonprofits, reach out to those volunteers, send an invitation that we would like a background check on you because we'd like you to serve. They go online, create that account, and they fill out their entire background check information that's required, and even give them the ability to self-pay for their background checks if they so choose. And if they do choose to make a contribution to offset that cost to the nonprofit, they can earn credits for free background checks or a discounted background check in the future. So we actually give money back not only to the organization that sent that original invitation, but we also give money back to the volunteer the next time they come in and do a background check on themselves. So we solved part of this with the ease of use and a technology platform that is community-based, but one of the key pillars of background checks is quality, right? When you get back to what is being offered, normally what we've seen in nonprofit land really is very low quality, instant criminal background checks that cost maybe $1 or $2 which tells me it's a national criminal database of some sort, and the information is stale rather and outdated. So Verified Volunteers wanted to solve this quality issue by offering some standardized packages across the platform for everyone. But at the basis of that pillar, we're going to add some services that you would expect to find in a quality search. And one key piece to that pillar is a 50-state sex offender check for registry search on every volunteer that comes to our platform. We're going to go out to the Department of Justice website and run a query on every single volunteer to see if they're currently registered as a sex offender. It is a manual process for Verified Volunteers to do this type of search, but it is the only place to go in America to get a national up-to-date sex offender search at this time. So historically, our market was riddled with these low qualities because they were relying on databases to tell us, who and who was not a registered sex offender, and that information was old. So one key component to everything that we do at Verified Volunteers is to ensure that we go to primary sources to get up-to-date information and report off of that. So in our common currency approach, the three levels are basically building off of one foundation, which is that sex offender, but we also do a national criminal database search on every single volunteer. And then on top of that, we'll rerun the volunteer's name through our system every single month and provide a monthly nationwide updating service at no additional cost, right? So you're no longer getting just one background check. You're getting 12 of them consistently for a year at no additional cost. So even that service in itself, besides the sex offender that we just talked about, now we're offering monthly updates on a background check to keep it fresh and up to date. And to be honest with you, it keeps it fresh enough for people to share it to our platform. So most organizations will accept a background check on an existing vetted volunteer on our platform as long as it's less than 30 days old. So that is one reason why we do that monthly update, is to keep that report fresh and shareable. When we look at a level 2 stream, what we're adding on is literally from level 1. The addition here is we're going to run to the county courthouse and look for felony and misdemeanor crimes based on that one county that they currently live in. And level 3, we end up adding on to what we've done in 1 and 2, and we search any county for felony and misdemeanor crimes based on where that applicant has resided in the last 7 years. So there is some cost changes as you go from level 1 to level 3, but then once again, the more stones we overturn, the more records we find. But the more stones we need to go in overturn, it is more expensive. So, but when we look at the difference between a level 1 and a level 3, I mean, we're finding up to like 30% more criminal records if we're doing a level 3 versus a level 1. So it is get what you pay for. The more places you do look, the more records you find. So with that said, on our technology platform, it is two-sided. Yes, the volunteers can come online. They can sign their background check release form. They can even pay for their background check, and they can share their background check with others. But it all starts by those nonprofits reaching out, right, inviting those volunteers to get verified. And so the two-sided platform empowers organizations to send out those invitations, but then also track and manage their background checks that are coming back. So once the individual volunteer goes through the 4-step ordering process and shares that report with others if they so choose, you're going to give, as an organization, as a manager, you're going to have a dashboard of tools at your disposal to use, which will help you track and manage the results coming back and so forth in real time, 24/7, right? So in addition to just seeing where the order's at, you can open up the orders and read the story of their criminal past or the lack thereof, right? So we'll give you full details online for you to access, and you'll see every detail in the report, at your convenience. So We do offer this dashboard. It was actually designed by volunteer managers. It wasn't even designed by the staff here at Verified Volunteers. We assembled a national criminal background check advisory panel to help us design this tool. So it is very stripped down, very streamlined. It only gives you the information that you need and nothing more. There's no fluff to it, right? So if you are expecting to look for results, you'll find them there. If you want to see the status and wondering why it's not completed, it'll tell you a lot. So we make this very user-friendly, not only for the volunteers, but also the volunteer managers. So when we're looking at this technology, we're looking at quality, how do we get this out to the market, right? So we've had these national partnerships, but it all starts with community anchors like the Michigan Nonprofit Association to get us together as a group, talk about background checks, and are there some pain that you all are going through, and is there a solution? Is Verified for everyone? No, the answer is not. Some organizations are required to do fingerprinting checks. Obviously, our online system doesn't do fingerprints, but it does have a national scope to it. So with our partners on national accounts like Girl Scouts, United Way, and so forth, Meals on Wheels, we're vetting these volunteers. We have hundreds of thousands of volunteers already screened on our platform, and they're looking for places to share their reports. So they're going out to other nonprofits asking if they can share their background check, and so those nonprofits individually are signing up to Verify and become part of that community here. The Michigan Nonprofit Association member discounts are, you guys are receiving up to 20% discount off our proposal price based on these 3 levels. And there is 0 setup costs for you to become and join a member of the Verified Volunteers community. There's no minimum ordering requirements. There's no monthly maintenance. Literally, if you order a background check, you just pay for that one background check or have the volunteer pay for that background check. And then, so everything here is free of charge just to join. But this platform is, I like to say there's no free lunch on it. It is a two-way street. If we're going to onboard a new nonprofit organization to our platform, we expect them to invite their volunteers to use the platform so that we can grow this organically. Hopefully that makes sense. But at the end of the day, we're running close to our time here where we can open this up for questions and answers. So I think, Sarah, let's give some folks an opportunity. I'll keep the PowerPoint up on my dashboard here, so in case I need to refer back to any specific slide and talk more in depth there, I will. But let's open it up to some questions that folks may have. If you want to email me offline, my email is on the screen now, or feel free to give me a call and have a general conversation. So with that said, I think we'll conclude at least the presentation part of it. And I do appreciate the time you've given me today. And Sarah, we'll turn it back to you for questions.
Sure, thanks, Troy. We do already have one question submitted. Again, for any attendees that are on the phone, just go ahead and submit your question in the question chat box. But our first question is from Rose. She says, does the first nonprofit engaging a volunteer pay the entire cost of the initial background check, as subsequent nonprofits get a copy of the check for free?
That's a great question, Rose. So there's literally 3 different options of how this background check can get paid for. So yes, if your organization sets up an account with Verified Volunteers, you can tell Verified Volunteers to set up the account where we could invoice the nonprofit organization for that initial check. So that means you're paying 100% of it. Or the nonprofit can say, you know what, Verified, when the volunteer gets online through my invitation, let them pay 100% of the cost. So you guys dictate who's paying. Is it the nonprofit or is it the volunteer? Who's paying 100% of that cost? So that's an election that each nonprofit can make. But there is a middle ground as well, which makes our platform very attractive. And that is an organization can elect to pay for the background check. But when the volunteer gets online, they're asked a question, would you like to help contribute and offset this cost of a background check? And if so, please consider a contribution now. So we give them a tool to actually pay for half of it or all of it or none of it. Just by asking the volunteer if they would like to consider a contribution now, our data supports 35% of the time those volunteers will pay for their own background check, just by asking. So we're not requiring it, right? But we are asking softly, hey, would you like to help the organization? And you know what? 35% of the time those volunteers do. So if, getting back to Rose's question, whoever pays for it, yes. If the volunteer owns it in their own account, they can share it with the next nonprofit for free. If sharing occurs on the platform, whoever has skin in the game, whoever paid for it, so if the organization paid for it or the volunteer paid for it, whoever paid verified volunteers for that initial background check, they are entitled to a rebate from verified volunteers. So we'll give credits back to whoever paid for it. I think that's it. Good question, Rose.
Thank you, Rose. I hope that answered your question. We'll wait a couple minutes here. I haven't seen anyone else's questions come in, but please, again, use the chat function or the raise your hand function if you'd like to ask a question online here. Doesn't appear that we have any other, oh, there we go. Got one more. This question is from Samantha. How much does it cost per background check? I saw it was volume dependent.
It is volume dependent. That kind of drives, the background check industry. If an organization literally does 10 orders a year versus 100,000, it's scalable based on volume. So the more you order, the less expensive. So there are volume discounts. But with the 20% discount, these rates are anywhere from $10 to $30 on average for a background check, depending on which level you order and how many you order in that level. So just so you can wrap your head around a good number, $10 to $30 is about what you can expect on a proposal from verified volunteers. Hopefully that answers your question, Samantha.
Thanks, Troy. And I do see that Jennifer has her hand raised. So Jennifer, I'm going to unmute you, and you can go ahead with your question. Oops. Oh, Jennifer, you put your hand on, so maybe you got your question answered already. All righty. Well, thank you again, everybody, and thank you to Troy for being here. Troy, if you want to scroll over and put your contact information up again, that might be good. Again, Troy obviously is really the expert here on verified volunteers, and if any one of you on the phone is considering this for your organization or has some questions you'd like to ask offline, feel free. I know Troy would be happy to have a conversation with you about your specific organization and the needs that you have, and really figure out how verified volunteers can work for you. Troy, did you have anything else to add in closing?
No, just want to thank everyone for dedicating the 30 minutes to learn more about verified volunteers, and thanks to the Michigan Nonprofit Association for putting this on. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you all, and have a wonderful day.